Okay, folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. So, I got these T-frames re-erected that I had left over from when I moved. So they're all, up and ready to go. I got the wires in, and I got everything. I tilled the surface, then I double dug the whole bed. Then I went back and retilled. I tilled in some peat moss. I got a truckload of topsoil and added to it just because my soil was getting so low, and just tilled that all together. I've already tilled in my pre-plant and my first weekly feed dose. I like to put those nutrients in a little ahead of planting. Gives them some time to break down and get into the soil before you actually put the plants in the ground. Now, the Mittleider method doesn't say you have to do that. I just have better luck that way. So I did all of the beds yesterday. This one just has to be hand dug because it's not wide enough to fit the tiller in, but it's a small bed. And then same thing here, tilled the surface, got rid of as many of the grass clumps as I could, and then double dug it, tilled it again, put in peat moss and more potting soil, and hopefully, or topsoil. Hopefully that topsoil will help break down some of the clay, because I have normally I've just been growing in giant clumps of clay, and it's grown well, but if I'm growing potatoes, I won't be able to dig those up. So, time for potatoes by next weekend. Probably gonna put the potatoes over here, just on the old under the old T-frames, and let those grow. And then soon after that, it'll be time for radishes. So probably next weekend I'll get the radishes in the short bed right here, because those will be ready to pull in 28 days. This will be about the time I'll start planting other stuff. So I might put bush beans back over there. I'm not sure. I got some 48-day bush beans. But on where I have T-frames, as much as possible, I want to grow things that I can grow vertical. So I want to do pole beans just to maximize my potential growing area and my harvest. So just put the T-frames up. Those are just in the dirt. They're not set in concrete or anything. Just use a post hole digger, sit that down in, and then I support mine at all four corners. Now, I've done this before, just putting supports in the middle, and it works. I just put some extra on there to make sure it's good and strong. Then we just have galvanized fencing wire. I'll put a link down below where you can buy that on Amazon. And we just stretch that in there, and then we just twist the ends around, pull it tight with some vice grips, and twist around the ends. And that'll be where we tie our strings to. Then I'll put stakes in the bottom, and I'll put in mechanics wire from Harbor Freight across the bottom. This is where the bottom of my strings will tie off to, and then we just grow the plants up the string. And so in a V pattern to each wire. So that wire and this wire, and then that just maximizes the amount of light and growing area for the plant, so we can get as much yield as we possibly can. So yeah, ideally these could be sand and sawdust. I grow in dirt, but a lot of times these would be 2x8s filled with sand and sawdust. I just use 2x6s to frame it out, and then where I had a big dip in the ground, I put a 2x8 in on the ends. But these used to be perfectly level, but they've just settled over the years and stuff, so they're not perfectly level anymore. I find that with dirt, you grow in the soil, after a few good hard rains, this will just kind of self-level itself right in here. This will just all be smooth and self-leveled out. But if you're in sand and sawdust, you want to be certain that this is very level, so that you get even distribution of all the nutrients that you're adding. But I have never had a problem with this being a little out of whack. It's not worth trying to take it up and restake it and level it all out. Not yet, anyway. But I just ideally you would not have grass in the middle, right? This would just be barren dirt. I've tried that so many times, and the problem is this grass is just persistent. It always grows back. So I just cut it down really well with the lawnmower, keep it short, and I weed eat along the edges real good. You know, it takes 10 minutes once a week to just keep this all under control. And I just find that that's just the best way to do it. Plus, if I have to sit down and work on the garden, I like sitting on a nice cushiony bed of grass rather than sitting in dirt. So that's what I do. But of course the concern is that this grass can be harboring pests and disease that can get to your plants. Powdery mildew or any kind of pests gives them a place to hide. So not ideal, but it's not been a huge problem for me in the past. So definitely some laws I'm breaking, but I seem to get away with it in my area. So I guess still have to get my hose rehung up, and then once I actually get to growing, the electric fence will go back around. I just have the wires kind of wound up there for now, and that'll just keep out the competition. And then we'll be off and growing here. You know, we'll start getting into full production here in about another month or so, and we'll be doing some early crops, and then we'll be growing into the fall. I'll be doing some late crops. I do have the Mittleider watering system for all of these beds built. I think I'm skipping it this year. Look, if you're going to garden, you need to come out to your garden every day and inspect it and see what's going on. For 10 minutes, you have to come take a look every single day, so that you can take corrective action if something's wrong and get it quick. Watering is a perfect opportunity to do that. I find that when I hand water, I can get the weekly feed watered in better. It works better. I find that sometimes I turn the watering on and I forget about it and flood my garden. I find that when I'm trying to work with the plants and weed and use my two-way hoe, the watering system gets in my way. So maybe if I was doing a much larger garden, I would do that. But I just think that hand watering works better. So that's what I'm doing this year. Because I really need to grow this year. I need to keep a good, constant, close eye on the garden. But anyway, that's just a little update as to what's going on with the Mittleider garden, and I'll bring you guys along as I get things planted and done, and we'll see what kind of results we can get this year.